Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the Long and Short. This is your boy Maestro. Thanks for joining me today. I will be walking you through my process of evaluating the charts in a lot of different ways. If you look at this here, you probably see that my charts look a lot different than other people's charts. There are no trend lines, there's no RSI, there's no MACD, there's no exponential moving averages, even though I do have a couple lined up over here. There's no volume. This is just a blank chart with drawn levels. All right. And I'm going to talk about how I achieve these levels and what I'm looking for in price over time. But today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the way that I actually get here. Okay. Because I don't start here. I actually start way back here. All right. And I analyze different things that are happening in the market before I come to the actual chart. So these things are, right, the sentiment and, well, the news, essentially roadmap news, things that are happening in the market that aren't necessarily getting press but are coming up, right? Next, I check the press. Then I check the charts, right? Top 100. I check the heat map. I check the fear and greed index. And then I check futures going into next month, all right? All of this information is used to help me make decisions on the actual price chart, all right? So let's cover it for a second. And then we'll dive into what's happening with Bitcoin and my predictions for going into January in the first quarter of 2022. So first place I start is a website called CoinMarketCap. Now, this isn't necessarily for me to apply things to the chart. It may be, but typically not. What I use this website for is to look for upcoming releases, upcoming partnerships, exchanges, right? I'm looking for things that are happening maybe 2 or 3 months down the line so that I can get in a better insight into something that may be coming to the market that's hot, right? For example, Harmony One, right? They're building a lot. Their team has a pretty extensive roadmap and they're doing a lot in 2022. So this is something that I want to watch, right? Same thing. I like Crypto Fight Club. This is actually a pretty cool NFT project that I'm looking into, right? And they're getting ready to start their NFT 2.0 launch and staking for that, right? And I checked this project out. Pretty cool. They're actually little boxing character NFTs. And it's a pretty cool concept, right? So I look at things like this to gauge, my own level of interest on what may be happening in the market, right? As you can see, Sandbox today, Game Maker 1.0 release, right? So they go on to the websites, they go on to Twitter, they scrub for this information, and then they put it out. All right. So this is the first place I check just to get an idea of what may be coming next. Then, of course, you always have to monitor the news. Now, the way that I play the news is always with the grain of salt. And in most times, I'm going to be trading diametrically opposed to what the news thinks, right? And it happens in all media across all markets, right? How many times have you heard that CNBC was completely wrong about their prediction? How many times have you gone and read a news article and then 2 or 3 days later it plays out opposite to what the article said it was going to do, right? So you have to really look at media, in a certain way when it comes down to you making investment decisions off of it. But it is important for you to have an understanding of this market. And this is how you get the understanding, right? If you don't know anything about crypto, start to read crypto news. Just start to read it, right? And it may seem like, something that you can't understand at first. But the more that you get the terminology down, the more that you'll find areas that you need to research and kind of come more up to speed on. And then eventually you'll become educated. But the news, great place to learn about the market, right? If you're not going to sit there and read white papers, this is your next best bet. All right. So come check the news out, get an idea of what's happening in the market, get an idea of what projects are really pumping things going into next year. Next, I check the top 100, and all I'm doing here is essentially tracking whatever coin it is I may be invested in, right? So say, for example, I bought some Zcash, okay? And I want to know where Zcash is trending in relation to the top 100. Well, I just track it from week to week where it is on this chart, okay? Now, if it's losing steam, that may be a reason for me to start looking elsewhere or taking some of this Zcash that I have and transferring it to something that's moving up this chart, right? The entire objective for us is to make money. And the only way we make money is through things going up, not down. So track the things that you're invested in on the top 100, 200, 500, whatever, and you'll have a better perspective on whether or not that was a good investment over time. Okay. I also come and check the heat map. I think the heat map is great just for you to get a really brief overview of what's happening in the market, right? Right now, it seems that money's being injected into the market, but I really look at the blue chips. I look at BTC, I look at ETH, I look at ADA, I look at BNB, XRP, right? All of the major tokens, the bigger they are, the more that they accumulate for market cap, the larger they show up here, right? So we want to pay attention to this. What boxes are shrinking, which boxes are growing, which boxes are red, which boxes are green, right? And get an overall direction or overall understanding of where the money is going. Right now, it's mixed, right? Two blue chips, they're in positive territory, but that number's going down since this morning, right? You can see your Bitcoin dominance here as well, right? So there's a lot you can just get visually from this chart. That's why I like to look at it. Next, we come to the Fear and Greed Index, okay? Now, this is sentiment of the market. Most people are scared right now, okay? Yesterday, we were in extreme fear. Last night, we had a pump, okay? So that extreme fear went to fear now. But in my opinion, if this moves too fast into, more greed territory, January, we're going to get a dump. If we get a pump first week of January, second week of January, I think we're going to fall, right? I think ultimately in January, we're going to have, a bearish market. And I'll show you the reasons why behind that too. This is not just me calling things out. I'm looking at a lot of different things, folks, before I actually get to the chart to make a decision, right? So sentiment is telling me that most people are scared, which is pretty much a good time to buy. But in my opinion, if the buying takes place too aggressively, they're going to scale it back for January. It's just the way that I'm looking at it. How do I come to this decision? Well, a lot of what I'm looking at here, okay, on bar chart, okay, this is actually how you take a look at Bitcoin futures, bar chart. Very cool website. You can get this information for free. And they actually give you the positions of the large speculators, small speculators, and commercials. So let me break down what these three are. So commercials are your miners, right? The brokers, the guys with all of the crypto, right? That determine that where it moves, right? The bigger warehouses of crypto. This is what you want to think of when it comes to commercials, okay? Large speculators are hedge funds, banks, the whales out there, right? Because in crypto, since the space is smaller, large speculators, they don't have to have as much money to be considered a whale per se, right? A whale could be a guy with $100 million, but if that guy with $100 million walked into a Wall Street firm and tried to consider himself a large speculator, they would laugh him out of the room, okay? So understand the difference in this market versus what, other markets, the amount of money that goes into these things is completely unfathomable in some instances, right? So large speculators are those guys, the big hedge funds, right? And then small speculators are us, the little guys that are on Coinbase, that are on Bybit and Fimex trying to flip a leverage trade, right? So understanding where these three places lie and the positions of these three give you sort of an inside scoop as to where price may be going, okay? Now, also, you want to pay attention to this zero line here. This zero line determines the net position, okay? So this is neutral, of course. Anything below here is a net short position. Anything above this is a net long position. And if I look at these 3 points here, large speculators are short. They tend to play opposite of what we're doing, right? Which is why we're so mad at hedge funds, because it seems like we can never trade with them. We're always trading against them, or they're always trading against us, really. Right? And then most of us are net long going into January. Why is this? Okay. Why are we speculating long? Because almost every YouTuber you listen to tells you January should be a bullish month. In my opinion, not so much. They're going off of recent history, the past couple of years of what happened in January, but they're not taking a look at the overall sentiment of price and the way that it's been they're not really looking at the trends. And I'm going to show you guys something in a second, all right, as to why I think January may actually be a bearish month. So we're long, they're short. Commercials are sitting essentially neutral, okay, going into the beginning of the year, which is not a bad position for them because they'll swing the market one way or the other based on where the large speculators are. So if most large speculators are short, the commercials are going to go long, okay? If they switch this position, commercials are going to go short, large speculators are long, because they have to supply the large speculators, if you get what I'm saying. If they want to buy, commercials have to sell, and if they want to sell, commercials have to buy, right? But the commercials are actually the one that drive that relationship, not the large speculators. We can dive into this a lot and a lot more, but I'm going to save that for now because I do want to get to the chart to show you guys something. Now, when I go on my charts, all right, I do not draw trend lines and things like that, as I explained to you guys earlier. I think that trend lines are meant to get violated and broken in the most opportune time to take you out of a good trade. All right, so the way that I look at price and the way that I look at the market, price is seeking something always. Okay, when it goes up, it's searching for something. When it goes down, it's searching for something. Essentially, it's really two different things that price is searching for. It's either an imbalance in the market, and the reason why it goes back to that area is to rebalance the market, right? Or it's looking for liquidity. What do I mean by liquidity? Stop losses, limit orders, taking guys off of the table, essentially, is what liquidity is. So when, for example, lows are printed, equal lows, okay, what sits below those lows? Stop losses, okay, for guys who think the price is going to go up. What sits here at these equal highs? Same thing, stop losses for guys who think the price is going to go short, right? So you always have two sides of the market, right? Which side is going to be right and which side is going to be taken advantage of is always the dividing line in the market. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, okay? So since I know that price seeks liquidity, and once it takes liquidity, it has the rights to go to the opposite side of the market to seek liquidity. That's the way I play price. So especially when we're in a range like this, right? If we're in a range, price is going to go into these liquidity zones and reverse from them, okay? Now I can see this in a few different examples. The most recent example is currently what's happening right now. So I'm on a daily chart. You can really see this on a 15-minute chart, okay? So I'm going to zoom into a 15-minute, and I'm just going to walk you through a really quick example of liquidity and why price seeks it to reverse from there, okay? You have a high here, you have a high here, you have a high here. These are three equal highs, right? Actually four. Now, this is a level of liquidity. Price didn't take it the first time, okay, which gave the shorts more, more conviction that price isn't going to break up through this zone, okay? Now, this area of liquidity is still here. People who are short, they are safe here right now. Guess what happens 2 a.m., overnight? This is a London session, 2:30, right? 2:45, boom. They just kicked it straight through that liquidity. Soon as they kicked it through the liquidity, what did they do? Reverse. They didn't go to the imbalance. They're not looking long right now. They're not looking to rebalance the market long. This is what it's telling me. You see, let's just take this liquidity and resettle back into the same range that we've been in since, right around Christmas, okay? So looking at this information here, right, I can pinpoint almost exactly to where price wants to go. Now, it may not want to reach this liquidity zone, but it damn sure will go here, okay? Why? It's clearing out another imbalance as we speak, okay? And in order for price to really launch and go higher, it has to take liquidity to the downside. Now, if I scroll this out, just like it took it to the upside to move down, it's got to take it from the downside to move up, right? Now, if I scrunch this up a little bit, where are the other areas of liquidity here? Well, you want to zoom out, and we could probably go to the hourly chart to make this a little easier to see, okay? You have liquidity sitting right here at this line of 40K. Now, what has everybody been saying? Oh, if it drops below 40K, I'm selling it all. Guess who you'll be selling it to? Institutions who bring the price here to break this liquidity, hit the weekly swing low, and then push higher. That's what I think may happen in the beginning of January, okay? They had a chance to go for this imbalance, this imbalance, this imbalance, and rebalance the market. They didn't do it. They didn't take that risk. Less risky is to go shorter because there is liquidity sitting here, okay? Now, between this liquidity and this quarterly low, sort of a no man's land, but if you look to the left, what do we have here? An imbalance as well, okay? On the hourly chart, you have an imbalance here, okay? You have liquidity here, and then you have liquidity here. So there's levels that price may want to take out to the downside. Based on the net positions of large speculators, which are short, commercials sitting in the middle, not moving them, and small speculators being long, I'm thinking price is going to go for the lower levels of liquidity and imbalance before it pushes higher. Because if we can get price to 40K or lower, that's going to trigger panic selling. And the panic selling will come directly to us, the market makers. This is how I read price, okay? If this makes sense to you, you're on the right track. And as you guys can see, I'm making all of these different calls without a trend line, without a moving average, without an RSI, without a MACD. No momentum indicators on this chart. I just understand where price objectives lie. If you understand where the price objectives are, and you see that they don't try to achieve them to the top side, that means they're going to the bottom side. Same thing. If there's price objectives to the bottom side and it doesn't reach it, look for the top, okay? And if price is in a range, you can trade this all day long, right? If you're an investor, you're sick. But if you're a trader, you took the short here, the long here, the short there, right? The long there, the short there. You can trade a range very simply, right? And I can show you guys proof of what I'm actually doing here. Now, this is a demo account, but I do have live accounts, right? But I want to show you guys this, right? Because this is what makes the difference between traders, people who are actually showing you something, versus those who don't. And this is what I meant by pushing the button, okay? So as you can see, I take wins, I take losses, folks, right? All the way down. You can see that there's trading activity here. I'm actually pushing the buttons. And I'm funny because I'll go on a losing streak and then I go on a winning streak, you know, and it's weird like that. But ultimately, right, I could tell you why I lost each one of these trades. I was out of sync with the market. And this first one here that I took for 3K, that loss, right? Now, this is a demo account, of course. But the first 3K loss that I took set the tone for every other trade. This was essentially me trying to make this back. I took a day off, right? Took some time. And then I got back in sync with the market. And I started making these gains. So unless guys are showing you things like this, don't believe them. If somebody comes up to a chart and does this, and I swear I hate when people do this. Somebody brings up into a chart and does this, okay? And says, hey man, yeah, you know, this was the long that I took right there. And you know, I placed my stop loss right there, but you see I won the trade. Get off the channel, run. Just run away, run away. Run away. If you see this box, run away. If they're not showing you executions, okay, arrows, these things here is what matter. If you're looking for someone to teach you how to trade, these arrows matter. This box is a setup. Remember I told you this. This box, setup. You see anybody do it? Run. These arrows, these are actual trade executions, buys, sells that are translated into the paper trading account here. And this is what I'm going to be showing you guys, executions, right? I'm not here to just talk about a ton of theory. I can get into theory all day, okay? But all I'm really looking for is where's the liquidity? Where's the imbalance in price, okay? And if I can find that, then I can start to use other things like swing lows, swing highs, order blocks, breaker blocks, right? All of the stuff that my mentor ICT taught me, right? And by the way, I am an ICT student. I spent a year studying YouTube ICT all the way, all the way. You will learn all the things that you need to learn from that guy right there. okay, if you don't want to listen to what I'm showing you here. But I think I can break this down in a different perspective, specifically around crypto, because he focuses on Forex. God bless the man. He definitely showed me how to analyze things in a better way so that I can get a better bead on what's happening in this market. So check him out if you haven't already. And again, he focuses mostly on Forex, and I'm taking a lot of what he taught, incorporating it into my own way, right, of doing things, because anybody can have a mentor, right? But if you follow your mentor step by step and you don't deviate and figure out your own way of analyzing things, then you're going to lose, right? Ultimately, your mentor has their way of doing things. That's their way. If you follow your mentor step for step and you don't think exactly like them, then chances are you're not going to be able to pull the trigger the way that they do. So this is just an overview of the way that I think, the way that I analyze markets, right? I hope no one's mad at me that I'm thinking price is going to seek lower levels of liquidity, but it's pretty clear, right? You have a big level here. Now, here's what could happen. Price could bounce off of this level between 46 and 45,000, right? And move up. It can do that, definitely. But if I'm thinking about seasonal tendencies in January, and yes, I do draw them out in Excel, okay? If I look at seasonal tendencies for January, we're not looking too good, right? We're typically bearish in January based on the entire history of the coin. Now, the last 2 years, granted, have been bullish, okay? So that is a hope for us that for the previous 2 years, January was a bullish year for crypto, right? And there's reasons to say that things will be bullish as well. But just taking a look at the overall sentiment and things that are happening, right, you can get an idea that the market may want to swing bullish because most people are frightful right now. The only thing that steers me away from that is the large speculator positions, okay? If they want to try to push the price down, they will try to suppress it in January. So you may see buying coming in January, but not a rocket ship per se, right? Think February, March, February to April actually is when you have a better chance of seeing that rocket ship, okay? Especially February. And yes, I do track tendencies from month to month, quarter to quarter. The reason why I do this is because I want to know which way the market has traditionally leaned, right? And again, this is added value, guys. People aren't showing you this. People aren't going to give you this on YouTube at all, right? They ram as many videos out there as possible. They use a lot of clickbait. I'm going to give it to you guys straight up. There's no shell here. There's no person that's going to pump a coin here, okay? I'm showing you honest analysis, and I'm showing you the groundwork that I've done in order to base my opinions on something, not just base my opinion on something because someone else said it. That's how you get wrecked, all right? And I'm showing you real trade executions. So if you value this type of content, if you think that this will help you become a better trader, once we start to dive into what imbalance and liquidity are, right? Order blocks, breaker blocks, swing lows, swing highs, why it all matters, right? Once we dive into how I mark up charts and analyze levels and identify levels from higher time frames to lower time frames, how I take the information on bar chart in the fear and greed index and the heat map, the top 100, the news, and then upcoming roadmap, how you take all of that and apply it back to here. If you're interested in learning how to do this, subscribe, like the video, share the video. We are coming in 2022, and we're here, baby. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up with y'all next time. This is the long and short.